All right, y'all, we back at it. As I said, we got the chemist with us today, getting busy holding it down for the city, holding it down for the T dot, the six, however you might refer to it as. So the chemist, how you feeling, man?
Real good. It's a good Sunday.
Oh yeah, most definitely. We lost a lot of legends in hip hop lately, but we still trying to keep it moving, keep it grooving. You know, we lost, of course, the late great DMX. We lost Black Rob. We lost Shock G. I hope it stops there. You know, we can't handle losing too many more. It's been crazy, but we're keeping it moving, keeping it moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we got the beat tape out right now. The beat tape. I didn't get an actual name. I got the graphics. I didn't get an actual name for the beat. You have an actual name
So
for it?
the beat tape is called the Chemistry Beat Tape.
Okay. All right. Dope. So we got 7 tracks. We about to jump into it, and I know we got a lot of features on the tracks.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into all that in a minute. So the Chemistry Beat Tape. All right, where do you want to start? We're gonna take. I have a order that might be different than the order that you had in mind. So I have it starting off with Let me just see what I got. I got it starting off with Good Enough.
Yeah, the order is alphabetical. It's in the right order.
Okay. So okay. All right, we got it then. So Good Enough. And to jump right into it, so give us a little background. How did the beat tape come to be? Why did it come to be? Why is it called Chemistry? Why is your name Chemist? Give us a breakdown. give us the bio in a short version.
So I'll start with my name. One of my favorite producers of all time is Alchemist,
Bop, bop.
and I firmly believe in the concept of alchemy as well. So I kind of made a swing off the name, you know.
Okay, that's very dope.
The beat tape came together. It came together kind of sporadically. We were just, going through a very stiff time, trying to keep things going, but with very minimal resources. So we figured we'd just make a couple dope beats. We had a bunch of people who were session playing at the time, so we got a lot of people on this beat particularly. But I made a beat and I sent it to a pianist named Keys 808. And he played the piano over it. Then I sent it to the guitarist named Daniel Espina, and he played over what the pianist played. And then the bass player played over what the two of them played. And then I just chopped it up and did the drum thing.
Okay, well, that's very dope. I know when I was in like junior high, and I'm going way back, we actually had instruments in schools. We had the drums, we had keyboards, clarinets, the whole.
Yeah.
At some point, all of that just got wiped out. I think with I don't know. I guess in somewhere in the late '90s, maybe, or somewhere thereabout, all of that just got removed. So it was like the big void. Like now you don't have that creative outlet to create music anymore. Luckily we had software that kind of replaced it, but that live instrumentation was missing. So a lot of producers that came in the game don't know the first thing about a C sharp or a B flat.
Yeah.
Any of that. They survive off the air.
Yeah, and there's only so much you could do with just you and a computer. You know?
Right. So you definitely, it adds to your arsenal to have that live. If it's just a live clarinet player or a live drum player or someone that can do the flute, it could only enhance the sound to give it a more full sound. You know.
Yeah. I've been lucky to know two of the instrumentalists for over 10 years.
Dope.
So it's just a family contributing to true music, you know?
Right. That's dope. All right, let's get into it. We got the first track, Good Enough. This is featuring Daniel Espina. And Keys 808 playing the guitar and piano. So let's check this out. Let's see what it
sounds. Caleb Clagger playing the bass.
Okay, so he's on this one and Sonic.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So let's get to it. Good Enough. First track off the Chemistry Beat Tape. This is the Chemist. Let's do it. That bass was cutting in. That bass was cooking. That's dope.
I
Yeah.
gotta say, on my end, the audio was fairly faint.
Okay. Okay. You weren't hearing it too clear.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I was
Let
very
me let
faintly
me let
hearing
me
it.
get that fixed for you real quick. All right. We'll
But
see
I
what
was,
it's. It's time. See if it's. I mean, you obviously know what it sounds like, but
yeah,
we'll
of
make sure
course,
we make you get to it the next time and make sure you can hear it a little better.
absolutely.
What's it like working in that environment, like the family vibe, as opposed to just you locked up in the studio by yourself?
Matt, coming from both perspectives, it really helps being able to have other genius kind of displayed over it. A lot of it boils down to just shit you can't do. Like
Mm,
uh, for 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 Keys, he's been playing since he was like 3 years old, and for Danny, he's been playing his whole life as well. So there's just things that they are able to do that I can't. You know,
okay. How
it's
wild?
almost easier to just
Right,
give
right.
them the work.
How wild does it get in a studio with a bunch of creatives? Like, what's the vibe like? Paint a picture for someone who never is not familiar with music, doesn't know how songs are created. Paint a
Yeah,
picture for how the studio session operates with you guys.
you you have to trust in everybody's ability, no matter how many people are there. I got the chance this year to work with this band called Bangers. There's like 15 horn players,
Wow.
and you just trust in everybody's genius, trust everybody's intelligence, and like keep the energy loose so everyone feels like they can express themselves
Right.
correctly. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You got to be an old soul. You speaking like someone who's been here before. Yeah, you got an old soul.
Love.
We don't that term doesn't get thrown around too much. It's not like saying you are OG or you're this. Like some terms are just loosely thrown around, but an old
Mm-hmm.
soul is not loosely thrown around. But when you see it, when you feel it, when you experience it, you know it when you see it. And I
Love.
definitely get that vibe from you, like that old soul. Just the fact you talking about a horn section, like how many
Yeah.
producers today can talk about a horn section and understand what that means? Having 15 people playing on the horn section.
Yeah, and even engineers knowing what to do with that, how to make
Right,
that sound 3D again.
right. What's your take on the whole uh analog versus digital sound? Like, how do you feel about the difference in sound or what one has over the other and vice versa?
It it's night and day, you know. A lot of people are getting really cool stuff out of fully digital things, you know, and a lot of analog things that were created initially without the understanding of digital have been digitized now. So like you can use a SSL strip, you can use an API digitally, you know. So it's more so just creative decisions. I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but
Right.
it's definitely night and day between the two though.
Okay. Now, have you taken any? And did you go to the usual suspects in the city? The Trebis, the Harris, the Metalworks Remix
I
Project, anything like that?
I didn't get the opportunity to be a part of Remix, but I did attend Metalworks for about 3 months, and then I had to drop out of that.
Okay. I can
Mm-hmm.
relate. I feel your pain. I did that back in the day with Trebis. I think I did about 3 months as well. So I can
Mm-hmm.
definitely relate to that. How do you feel that enhances, or do you feel it enhanced what you were doing, or your knowledge of the business, or anything like that?
It definitely gave me perspective in terms of what people see out of the business, you know, and what other people, you're in the same room with probably 40, 50 other people who have the same job as you, essentially, you know,
Right.
and you can kind of get their perspective on how they want to achieve their own kind of agenda out of it, you know.
Okay.
So it gave me a lot of perspective in terms of how individualistic my agenda was.
Right.
But prior to Metalworks, I had been performing since I was like 12 and playing music since young. So
Okay.
it wasn't so much the music theory elements that came in there, but definitely the perspective.
Right. Okay. Let's get into the second track. The second track we got lined up is called "Live Life." What was this track about? What inspired this track? And are you just randomly giving beats names, or you have a reason, a
Nah,
meaning behind it?
these are real moments. You know, you smoke a blunt, now you're in a whole moment.
Right.
You know what I'm
You're in the
saying?
zone.
Yeah, and I was at Lynx Music making this beat, and I had my guitar and I had my G cornet trumpet,
Okay.
and there's a drum kit there too. So I really just wanted to exercise all facets of my creation and just try and make a very exhilarating, positive vibration during a time where a lot of bullshit was happening, you know?
Right, right. Okay, so this is Live Life. This is the second track. This is the Chemistry beat tape. The producer, of course, is the Chemist, representing the city, Toronto. Let's jump right into it. Live Life.
Yeah.
I'm loving that, man. I'm loving that vibe. It sounds like, uh, I don't know if I should say next level, but like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like an evolved sound.
Mm,
Because Toronto has a certain sound, and we'll get into that. Your take on the sound of Toronto and what that means to you. But that
mm-hmm,
sounds like I'm hearing a lot of different, like Junior T just put out a project.
mm-hmm,
Again with a lot of live instrumentation. So I'm hearing like an evolved sound coming out of Toronto these days with more of the
mm-hmm.
instrumentation. I mean, I remember speaking to Jordan Manswell about that of just having like that live sound added to the sound. What does the Toronto sound mean to you, or does it mean anything to you? Is there such a thing to you? And what's your take on that?
I I started becoming very interested in production at a time where Toronto is becoming very dominant in hip hop. And it was beat battle after beat battle after beat battle of us just kicking people's ass
Right.
across the, you know what I'm saying? So the Toronto sound is very deeply rooted in my inspiration and my musical approach. You know, the heavy drums, the hard samples, the simplification, but the musicality, you know. And I feel like because I've been playing trumpet since I was 12 years old, and like I have a good grasp on other instruments as well, I'm able to kind of put my own spin on it. I don't know if it's necessarily next level or it's definitely its own kind of evolution of a thing though.
Right. Dope. Do you try to particularly, because most people have a sound connected to their state or their city or their country. Like what the UK has, obviously the drill kind of sound that seems kind of uniquely their sound, even though Chicago could lay claim to it, Brooklyn could lay claim to
Yeah,
it, even Wonder Girl could lay
yeah,
claim to it. But
for sure.
they generally have what they feel is their sound. West Coast has what they feel is their sound. The South has what they
Yeah,
feel is their sound. Being that, when I mentioned the Toronto sound, do you feel like you're boxed into something like a sound that people are expecting you to sound like?
absolutely not. I really see music as just music, you know, like I feel like it's reduced to a lot of things, but music is a large thing, you know. and it can't just be you can make a whole record and not need a computer, you know.
Right. 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 Right.
I
Right.
I feel like especially now where you kind of need something that's going to bring a little bit more life out of you, you know, you're going to need a little bit more of a live sound, a live approach,
Okay.
because those synths can only do so much.
Right. 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 Speaking of that, what's your arsenal aside from the live players? What's your personal arsenal like software, hardware, DAW? What's your preferred
I try to keep it super simple. It really translates in the sound because, you know, every decision you make as a producer, if you're not aware of all the transients and things that are coming out of every decision you're making, you're kind of in the dirt, you know, everything's coming out muddy or not clear. So I just use FL. I have a Acer laptop. I have a big 8 channel Focusrite that I use when I'm working with groups.
Okay.
I keep it super simple, you know.
Okay. You mess with any of the machines, the hardware machines, the Rolands, the MPCs, the any of that?
I definitely have fun when I go to. I have a couple friends that are fluid in those things, you know,
Right.
like they'll have the analog synth modulation setups, or
Right.
they'll have a bunch of drum machines set up. So I'll definitely have fun when I go and, you know, play around with those guys. But
Right.
when I'm home alone, I try and keep it to my, you know, my own exploration.
Okay. Okay. Very, very dope. What would be your top like three producers that you say influenced you, as your influenced your sound or just influence you, but maybe you don't try to cater to that sound, but they still influence you the most.
Uh, Wonder Girl is a huge one because her win was kind of what ignited me to start making beats, you know.
Wow, that's crazy.
Um, but outside of that, like Quincy Jones, his hand
Mm.
is just so deeply rooted in music culture. Like,
Yes, sir.
and even before that, like people who really pushed musical agendas, like Monk, you know.
Right, right.
So,
Shout out to Thelonious Monk. It's
you know
giants in the
what I'm
game.
saying?
For producers that ain't familiar with them type of individuals, Bird, Thelonious Monk. Um, oh man, there's a long list. There's a long
Yeah,
list.
there's producing and then there's hip hop, and you know, hip hop has its origins, and like whoever understands, you know.
Right, right, right. And a lot of things. Disco. I mean, it's a whole nother conversation. But hip hop borrows a
Hmm.
little bit from everything: funk, soul, reggae, um,
Absolutely,
everything.
but those jazz piano, those
Mm-hmm.
jazz ensemble chops, you
Mm,
know what I'm saying? You can't get any
right,
more hip hop than those
right.
raw, you
Yeah,
know?
Tribe used to go crazy with that. Even Dream Warriors, if you're familiar with Foundation Toronto artists like the Dream Warriors, they
Yeah,
were into jazz. I think slightly before Gangstar got into jazz. Um,
super.
like 88, 9, 90. They were
Could you
already into
imagine?
that. Right here in Toronto. So Dream Warriors was doing it. Then they had like what's that group called? From Brooklyn. It was like the Fugees, but it was a different female in the group. I can't remember the name off the top. Diggable Planets. So they
Mm,
also carried that same kind of heavy jazz bassline vibe.
where?
Tribe obviously, and it just went on and on from there. It became its own thing. But yeah, that's
Hmm.
definitely a big staple in hip hop. The sound, those bass lines and whatnot. Jazz for
Absolutely.
sure. But yeah, so let's get into track number 3. This track is called Remembrance. This one is solo. This is you. This is all you.
Yeah, this is me playing trumpet and doing some computer stuff
Okay.
with a little bounce.
Okay, let's do it. Track number 3, Remembrance. We got the chemist in the building. The beat tape is called Chemistry Beat Tape. Let's check it out. that took me for a zone, man. I was gone for a minute. It kind of gave me like an Outcast vibe. Spotty Dopalicious kind of had that with the heavy trumpet sound.
Nah.
Do you have artists in mind when you're making some of this stuff?
I really try and just get a mood off,
Okay,
and I see who can stick with it the best.
okay. So the vibe is coming first. The artist is the second thought.
Yeah,
Okay,
always, because when you start putting other people into consideration,
right.
what you're considering is their old shit.
Mm.
So it's you got to really
That's dope.
innovate to be if you want to be like what they end up doing later.
That's ill. I don't think anyone has quite put it that way. You're making a beat based on their history because you don't know what they're capable of going forward. So you're locked into what they've done in the past.
And when you think
That's
about
ill.
these big artists, they probably have like thousands of records you've never heard
Right.
that are probably harder than the shit
Right.
that they just drop for
Right.
fun or whatever the case may be.
Right. That's hard. That's hard. That's dope.
Mhm.
Um. So what you do a lot of studying, a lot of reading. You seem like you have a
Actually,
deep introspection
actually,
beyond just your life introspection, which spills over into the music side.
I don't read a lot. It's actually something that I got to do more of.
Okay.
But I learn from everybody that's around me.
Right. Right. Dope. 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 Somebody was saying the Earth Gang. He hears you on the old Earth Gang.
Ah,
Right. 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 Dope.
that'd be crazy.
Yeah. Most definitely. Speaking of that, who would be your top three artists that you would like to work with based on their past? I guess you would say.
Oh man, there's so many artists who people forget about. Like there's juggernauts that are just out here. Like I do another Christmas album with Mariah Carey.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I like I do a feature album with Quincy Jones for sure.
Right.
I do a project with Kanye for sure.
Okay. Okay. That would be nuts. Anything?
Kendrick Lamar for sure.
Hmm. Any Toronto artists? I haven't heard any Toronto in that mix.
There's a lot of people in Toronto that I'd love to work with.
Okay.
Sean Leon, Hawaii Mighty,
Dope. Dope.
uh, Faiza and I had a session recently.
Okay.
Junior T and I'm hoping we can lock in soon.
Right.
But you got to think internationally, globally. Like I'd
Right. Right.
like a
Right.
J Balvin record. Like you know
Most
what I'm
definitely,
saying?
most definitely, most definitely. I just showed that out just because you're in the city. If there's anybody, but I definitely understand thinking outside the city. You got to do that. That's without a doubt.
Absolutely, because the city is an inevitability. It's your closest reach.
Right, right, right,
You're
right,
supposed to grow in your city.
right.
If you can't think outside of that, then you kind of get stuck in the glorification.
Hmm.
You get glorified to a stunt.
Right. Have you visited other cities to try to like network, connect with other people? Have you made the trips to Atlanta, New York, L.A., Miami, anything like UK, anything like that?
I haven't made the trip out there, but I've been lucky enough to network with some people in New York. I
Okay.
have a song coming out soon with this girl named V Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me guess, she's from BK.
yeah, you already know.
Okay. All right. All right, so we're vibing with the chemist right about now. We got the chemistry beat tape out. We're gonna get to where it's available shortly, but before we do, let's get into track number 4, which is called Sky, which features one of the artists, one of the producers, one of the dope producers that been in a battle, beat battles. I think it was in the 2016, 17 era, maybe 16,
Mhm,
17, 18 era. Nate
mhm.
Smith, very dope. He always very dope on stage. Always left an impact. Um,
Phenomenal.
very dope, very phenomenal. So this track is a collaboration with Nate Smith on the melody.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else? What came? How did this collaboration come about?
Well, when I was super young, Nate was working at this community center. And he was the reason why I started making beats.
Mm,
And then years passed, and we kind of, we collabed a bit. We were in and out of sessions together with a couple artists that I was working with, a couple artists he was working with. But we kind of had a break because of pandemic and just things
right.
going on in life. But he reached out as of recent this year, and he sent me just a melody pack. I sent him some melodies back, and then this one came out super different. So
Okay.
had to add it. It's very much how things have been feeling.
Right. Right. Okay. So this is the COVID track. Track
You
is
can
called
say it like that. The
right. Right.
pandemic energy.
Pandemic energy. All right. We call right about now. We're gonna call it Sky. This is featuring Nate Smith, the chemist. Let's do it. Shout out Nate Smith on the melody. Very dope. Very,
Hmm.
very dope. Very. I want to
Hmm.
hear some more Nate Smith. Speaking of that, yeah, there's a lot of dope producers that just because of COVID, it's like everything's been kind of just wishy washy for the last year. Nobody really knows what's going on with events, with music, with what's coming out. Everybody's just kind of relying on streaming and things of that nature. But hopefully, when things get quote unquote back to normal, whatever normal ever was, then
Hmm.
things might smooth out and you'll see a lot more happening. But for right
No, I
now,
feel I feel like a lot of good producers have figured it out. I feel like there's a lot of work that's brewing in the city that's waiting for the right moment
right?
to be able to take an advantage of. I don't think there's a lot of good producers in the city that are having a hard time doing shit.
Okay, okay. Elaborate on that, because that's an interesting perspective.
Right now is the first time there's no rat race. So if you're set up to be able to make music in your sleep or right
Mm,
out of your sleep, then you're kind of okay.
right.
And at that point, it's about how much can you give, how much can you provide.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of producers look for an easy situation where they don't have to be too involved in records. But if you're willing to track, produce, mix, master, then your current state warrants things getting done.
Okay. Now let's go a step further than that, because that all sounded very, very on point. Um, Now the business side of that, because with all the creativity comes the business side that complements that. How do you
Absolutely.
see how? What have you learned about the business side of it, and how do you feel that's being impacted with COVID or post COVID, or what might come out on the other end?
The business side of it is really for producers. Even if you get a placement with a good situation that pays you out nice, your average turnover for your career is probably not nearly as many beats as you've made a year,
Mm,
you know? So you probably get 10 records a year in the industry placed if you're lucky, if you're good, you know?
okay.
But if you're able to provide a little bit more to get records done, then there's a little bit more to collect on the back end when the records are completed.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Now,
Not only that, but you can ultimately choose who you're providing those services for. So artists with contingency funds, artists that are able to get grants, artists that are able to provide for a situation like that, you know?
Right. Now, have you studied this going through the formal way, or this is you just going online, learning this here, this learning a little bit from here, contacting this manager, getting a little bit there, doing your own digging, getting a little bit here. How did you pull this together to get that business understanding? Because a lot of producers don't have it. They don't know the first thing
Mm.
about publishing, copyright,
Yeah.
masters,
Yeah.
sync. So how did you get your
It,
understanding of it?
it's really, you know, if you're a producer, you've been trying to get records cut your whole career, you know? So the further along you go with that process, I really had to make a track of my own. I dropped a track last year called Buy Back the Block, and I dropped it, I produced it. I went through the process of, you know, Indie Pool or United Masters or DistroKid, and I did my research and I figured out how to promote, and I understood publishing from doing it the you know, and I actually have an NFT being released this summer
Mm,
that is going to be a full 22 length project
right,
that's going to be an exhibition of all the things that I learned. And
right,
it's really just, it's one of those things where you got to care about your music and care about your situation more than just getting a placement overseas. Because a lot of it is just me looking at people and saying, we're going to figure it out. We're going to sit down and fill out a split sheet. We're going
right,
to, you know, we're going to learn how to promote. We're going to learn what Facebook marketing does. And we're going to figure out with your budget how to make that happen, you know?
right, right. With your understanding of publishing and that side of the business,
Mm.
um, if a publishing deal was brought to your attention, what would be more favorable to you, generally speaking? Admin, co-pub,
Well,
what would you be more leaning towards?
well, publishing deals are already better than a lot of the deals that are out here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people want to own you all the way. You know what I'm saying? But I would definitely partner with someone who was able to assist with the distribution, you know?
Okay,
I wouldn't really compromise my publishing or my ownership because I know what that does,
okay, okay. Fair
you
enough.
know?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Someone who would want to assist in a system, you know, in a system, or a producer who's able to provide a system of great music would have to be able to provide more than just a publishing deal, because that's, you know, a lot of those are straight up robbery. You know, you'll probably get 20% of your own record, if that.
Mm,
And then, you know, you're getting to a whole nother situation where they might try to advance you or whatever. The main thing is how to know how to make something not turn back into zero.
mm.
And you can get any amount of money and multiply it. You don't have to have it. You get $100,000 advance and it's zero when you're done. You know?
Right, right, right. No doubt. We got some valuable lessons of that from numerous artists. So you know what I mean.
Yeah. Great examples.
Right, right, right.
Good
Multiple,
examples.
multiple from all genres too. Like
Yeah.
every genre of artist had their horror story of just getting jerked in one way or another.
Yeah. And
So,
some of them really accept the position. Some of them really assume position every morning
mm,
and get dressed and go do that shit, you know?
right, right.
And like art doesn't work like that. Someone like Bob Marley never had to deal with anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm, mm,
And it's one of those where if you can create a sustainable situation that looks like it can grow with people you love, you should never have to worry about any of that shit.
right.
Everything is a partnership.
Mm, that's a gem. Everything is a partnership. That's a gem. Um, that sounded good to the ear sonically. And with that being said, let's get into the next track called Sonic, featuring Caleb Klager. Klager or Klager?
Klager,
Caleb Klager on
my brother.
he's on the bass once again.
Yeah,
This is
this whole beat is really just drum and bass. It's just
okay.
him playing bass and me doing drums.
Okay, sounds good to me. All right, let's jump into it. Sonic track number 5 off the beat tape, the Chemistry beat tape. This is the chemist in the building. This is the beat tape breakdown. Let's do it.
Love.
Very, very
Um,
dope, man. Very, very dope. That's a vibe. That's a vibe. Let me ask you, if an artist approached you and they said, "Yo, I got this bag. I want you to make a beat like this song over here," and
mhm.
it's a song that you don't rock with. That's not your sound, but they got a bag for you, and they want you to make a beat like this. How would you deal with that?
I think consultations are important for that reason because you can kind of convince an artist to understand your artistry through what they're trying to achieve. You know, you can kind of hear their reference and hear what they're trying to go for, and show them, you know, how you'd achieve that for them through your own sound. And
Okay.
it's really about being malleable. You know, I think I made the first piano ballad of the 20th century, or the 20th, the third, whatever century we're in.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't play piano. I'm not fluid. I don't listen to Adele like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's just about being able to understand what they're trying to achieve and sonically achieving that.
Okay. Okay. Beat tags. You ever use those on your? Have you ever used a beat tag, or why don't you use a beat tag? Do you feel like that could help you as branding yourself as a producer?
There's branding. You know, McDonald's has great branding. You know, but those cheeseburgers don't do shit for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like when you really let an artist feel something, you know, like if there was a tag in that beat, you'd hate me.
In that beat, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Mm,
I feel like all my beats have the potential to really be a world, but when you understand music, you understand even above branding, you know, sonically you can brand yourself without using a tag or saying your name every beat.
right. Right. Right.
Wonder Girl doesn't use tags.
Right, right, right. You can have a signature sound. Like that was kind of the tag before a tag. Just having a sound like going back to Primo's days. Like you knew Primo once you heard Primo. Even
Yeah,
going before that, when you heard Public Enemy, Hank Shockley, the Bomb Squad, you obviously knew who that was once you heard the beat. G Funk, you heard Dre before you knew it was Dre. So
and that's really like when you look outside of the niche culture of music, that's really what holds weight in the music industry. You know, you might get a deal from a label, but you're not shaking hands with musicians and you're not networking. Half of the music industry is closed off to you because you're not aware of it.
right.
You know, how are you going to be able to use Toronto Philharmonic for an album if you can't write music?
Mm,
You
right,
know?
right. That's crazy right there. That's crazy right there. Shout out DJ Mel Boogie, who is a part. I think she plays classical piano, but I think she's a
Uh,
part of the Royal Conservatory or something like that. So
mhm.
it's a whole different world to you when you can play instruments and you're connected or a part of these different groups, as you mentioned.
You understand music a little differently because it's really about how you touch the instruments,
Right,
how the nuances of your character through the instruments.
right, right.
And that's something that you can't learn through synthetics. You can get a individualistic sound as a synth, but we've heard sounds just get more muddy and more distorted through hip hop
Mm,
because of people trying to get those individualistic sounds,
right.
you know. And it would be a refreshing thing to get clarity out of a new sound, you know.
Mm. Any instruments that you have in the works that you're trying to learn?
Um, I'm trying to learn how to be a little bit more fluid on piano.
Okay.
Um, my new roommate Matt Somber, he's actually an artist. He made Rollin' to that beat. He made a song called Rollin' that's coming
Okay.
out
Okay.
the end of this month.
All right. Any perks?
But he brought a trombone,
Right.
so I've been learning how to play that bitch too.
Crazy. Any perks in mind?
Any perks? What do you mean?
Percussions.
Well, if I'm being totally honest with you, it's very random, fucking, very random fact. But when I was 11 years old, I was in a steel pan group,
Hmm.
and I played all the steel pans and drums and stand up percussion. So I'm just a little bit perked out.
Okay. All right.
I still play. I still play the kit drums.
Right.
The studio that I work out of has a drum kit in the basement, so I play kit every now and then. But I really try to be a more harmonic exploration.
Right. 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 Okay. All right. Dope. We're gonna get into track 6 real quick. It's called Upside Down. But before we get into that, I want to know, as a producer, it could be because of COVID, it could be even before COVID. But has there ever been a time when you just wanted to like hang this whole music thing up and just like, you know what? Let me just go be an engineer. Let me just go be a mechanic. Let me go be whatever. You know what I mean?
I really have nothing else to offer society in my natural state. Anything else is pretty forced. I feel like there were times where I wasn't too clear on what I was supposed to be doing with my talent, but I never wanted to give up on my talent because it's really the only thing I have. I could talk to you better on a trumpet than I get these run-on sentences I'm giving you now. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
all good. We get the gem within it.
No,
Right.
but the fluidity of being able to be in your own creative environment,
Okay.
it helps a lot to be able to communicate through music in that sense.
Right. What's the support system around you like? Like, do you get family support in it? Do you get like an uncle that's saying, "Yo, keep doing it"? You know.
Yeah, everybody that my family who's seen me literally start making beats off a little Acer notebook. They really pushed me and supported me to even applying to Bow the Beatmakers year after year after year.
Okay.
So a lot of support and a lot of people who help push the agenda as well. The keyboardist on that first beat is literally the person who taught me how to engineer
Wow.
and mix and master.
Okay.
So and now he's also like my investor buddy. So
Right.
it's really a lifetime growth thing.
Right. So you now mix and master your own work?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
in the thick of
That's
it.
real dope. That's dope. That's another revenue stream altogether outside of producing. Just
Yeah,
engineering and other
if you can
sessions.
have a session where you're making a beat, doing the recording, mixing and mastering, not only can an artist leave with a track whenever they want, basically, but you're able to clean up on everything that artist could provide anybody.
Right. Right. Very, very dope to have that whole to be a part of the whole process.
Mhm.
Not just dropping off of files and you giving someone the raw beats, but actually being able to clean it up as you mentioned, all the way to
Yeah,
the
it's
all the
really
way
it's
through.
really like it's learning how to speak the whole thing.
Right. Right.
When someone isn't full of the whole spectrum, you can't really talk to them. It's hard to communicate to them because they're kind of thinking one dimensionally.
Right. 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 Very dope. Very dope. All right. Well, let's get into Upside Down. This is the second last track off the beat tape, and we got
Hard.
we got the chemist with us. Let's jump right into it. Upside Down, the chemistry beat tape. Let's do it. Fire, fire, fire. Um,
Love.
that's crazy. What's the first thing you're gonna do post COVID? What's the first thing music wise that you have in mind to do immediately as this thing, as I said, quote unquote, goes back to normal?
I want to get the largest music ensemble I can possibly get together. I feel like post COVID, if I can work on, if I can get a project that has over 50 musicians that I can put on that I know are very good, you know, one way or another, I know I can get a large bursary or fund or grant, the larger the project.
Right.
So if I can get a real group going, 50, 60 musicians, that's outside of the artists.
Mm. So you're talking on some Quincy Jones level, executive producing, bringing all the talent together under one umbrella.
Yeah, but I think the one thing that's never been done after everything has been tracked is brought back into the digital world and been considered, you know, hip hop
Mm.
with the education that it is now. So I think with the fluidity of how I've been able to use instruments in my production, I can get to the point where I can use a choir and I can use a string group and I can use stand-up basses, harps and fucking horn groups and whatever the case may be to really put together a hip hop fucking
Right.
masterpiece.
The next level.
Mm-hmm.
Now you mentioned Steel Pound earlier. How much of that sound comes out in your current music, whether it be soca, calypso, reggae, dancehall? How much does like the Caribbean island impact have in your sound right now?
I think black music is in everything, you know, and like in my music, the Caribbean culture influence specifically is in the percussion, the shuffle. You'll hear perks, you'll hear kind of extra hi-hats, you'll hear these things bouncing around that if you were to go to a steel pan group, you'd hear the guy on the two iron and the two drum and you know,
Mm.
the whole shake and shuffle of it all.
Right. Okay.
But just kind of also trying to innovate and reinvent so that you're not doing the same thing every time you sit down.
Okay. Okay. Do you have that in your sound? I never got a lot of that. I got the jazz, I got the hip hop, I got the like,
Mhm.
I never got too much soca
There,
ish, calypso ish, reggae ish vibe.
you, you know, there was one beat where I really stuck my nose in the thick of it. It's called Trini Spy,
Okay. Okay.
and I totally flipped the concept of that one bounce of a quarter note bounce into a hip hop evolution. And after I did that, I kind of understood the formula behind it. So I never really
Okay.
needed to do it again, you know.
Right, right, right. Okay. A
But
one and done.
yeah, if you
Okay.
want, I could, you know, you could set it up. You send your email in the chat. I could swing it out.
Okay. Okay. I like to see what the vibe sounds like because I ask everybody like most people like well, if they're from the city, they're usually
Mm-hmm.
born somewhere else, just generally
Mm-hmm.
speaking. So someone's in Toronto but they're born in Guyana, Toronto born in Trinidad. So I asked them
Yeah,
did they actually reach back and connect with artists from their home country, home island, and whatnot. In a lot of
you got to.
cases, a lot of cases, surprisingly, they're disconnected because a lot of people came here as kids, so Toronto was
Mm,
all they really know. They're from wherever, but Toronto is basically what raised them. So
that's
they
crazy,
might not have as strong as a connection as you might wish they did have. Um,
man. That sounds like an excuse to me. I know an artist that's in Turkey right now.
mm,
You know, the internet is so big where you could connect with anyone anywhere, let alone from where you're from.
right,
You got cousins over there, man.
right, right, right. So you got projects on the go with people from, back home.
um, Me personally, I'm not very, you know, me and my family from Jamaica on my dad's side, we don't really communicate or keep up.
Mm,
I haven't been able to go out there and network into the music industry out there either.
okay.
But definitely some collabs from people just around the world randomly that I've been fortunate enough to, you know,
Right.
sync up with.
Right, right. It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, we're down to the wire. We got one more track left. This is The Chemist. The beat tape is called The Chemistry Beat Tape. You heard a lot of fire so far. Everything was hot. and also a lot of deep introspective thought behind the music, life in
Love.
general, future plans, how we're gonna, deal with things after COVID and that whole bit. Um, the last track, What You Want. Why did you choose this track to be on the project? Why is this the last track, and what does it mean to you?
This is after kind of exploring how to be free through it, how to be free through my network and the chemistry of the people that I've grown up with and been able to work with, and how to use my own musical facets. It's really kind of like a self manifestation of driving forward to achieve after achievement. Even though this is the last beat on a very good project, you still kind of have to ask yourself, what more do you want? What more are you trying to achieve? And it's just kind of like a general statement,
Okay.
general affirmation of self.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump right into it. What You Want, the final track off the beat tape, the chemistry beat tape. This is the chemist. This is the beat tape breakdown. Let's jump right into it. Nasty, nasty, nasty.
La.
I got a few last questions. First of all, somebody's asking, is the buy back the block on YouTube and Spotify?
Yeah,
Okay,
it
because
is.
somebody was trying to sub to it, and they just wanted to make sure it's the right channel they're subbing to.
Yeah, yeah. It's The Chemist on Spotify and YouTube by Back to Block.
Okay. And secondary samples. Are you using a lot of samples, or is everything mostly played? I know we discussed all the live stuff, but I'm wondering, is any of this stuff samples that I'm hearing?
I love that after we talked about it for an hour, you just asked again.
Right.
That's so reassuring because it's all not.
Okay. 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 So we just want that to be clear. This is
Yeah,
all live stuff because it
yeah,
sounded. It's like sometimes something is so dope, and then you only come to find out, yo, that's just a sample the dude used.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's like I've been let down so many times over the years. It's like, yo, that is so dope. Like, how did he create that? That's just a
Yeah.
sample, bro. You know what I mean?
No, that's
So
really just me carving space, bro. Like
right,
that beat started with that synth, and then I put the overtones on it with the sevens on the guitar,
right.
and then with everything spaced out, just those two melodies, I just put the horns on it, and then from there it's just drum season.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Well, that's a dope way to end it off. That reassurance that everything you heard in this last hour is the real deal. There's
No
nobody, you
samples.
know what I mean? And that we should actually started the whole conversation off, but regardless, as long as we got that clarified now,
Yeah.
that just summarizes everything up perfectly. That this is actual our producer putting in work for real, for real. You know,
Yeah.
because not to take away from nobody else. I shouldn't have put it that way. It's not to take away from nobody sampling, because sampling is a part of hip hop from day one.
Absolutely.
But to get that real raw, like you did it yourself. Personally, if I was a producer and I was doing that, I would feel so much on a whole different level knowing that I'm making that trombone, that flute, I'm playing those keys, I'm playing those drums. It feels so different to me rather than knowing I just took a loop from somebody and maybe threw a drum on it and feel like it's mine. You know,
Yeah,
it's a
it's really reassuring to feel you build your harmonics.
right.
Even someone who just knows how to use a piano roll can kind of they're a testament to that, you know?
Right, right, right. All right. Well, we're about to wind down. We got the chemist here. Let us know. Let everybody know where they can find you. Where they you mentioned where they can find a beat tape, but where can they connect with you
Yeah.
directly? They might want a live trombonist or pianist or anything to add to their sound. So collaboration is everything.
I'll say this now then. For anyone who wants to use live instrumentation in their music, I have probably 30 musicians that can provide those services outside of myself. Um, so please hit me on Instagram at the chemist, the chemist, CHMST. You know, you can hit my email, thechemist444 at gmail.com. You can follow my Facebook page, The Chemist. I'm on Twitter as The Chemist One, TikTok, The Chemist. Even if you just type in The Chemist to Google, you'll get my contact info. My business is set up.
Dope, dope, dope. And anybody who missed this stream, we're gonna have this up on YouTube this week, so it's there. It's out there forever to watch over and review and whatnot. All right, so we're gonna sign off. Salute one more time the chemist for coming through, blessing us with the introspection, the music, the vibes, and the contact, so people can get a bit of that themselves if they want to add that live aspects to their own sound. But we want to salute to you. Keep doing what you're doing, and then we'll catch up next beat tape, next event, next situation. When is the next project coming out, by the way?
So the next project I have coming out, there's a track called Rollin' coming out by Matt Somber. There's an album called Foolish Mortal coming out this summer by Ira Tayeb Ashe. There's a album by me coming out as an NFT called Differently, and that's for this year. Who knows what else is supposed to happen?
Okay.
There's an album that I've been working on with this female artist called
Okay.
Estella Joan Angel, and that's a purely R&B album. We're getting the masters together for that, so that should be out within the next month.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just pushing.
Right. Right.
There's going to
Right.
be a lot of things this year and next year, so hopefully we can do another one of these.
All right. We here. We here.
Yeah.
This is the beat tape breakdown. This is the chemist. The beat tape is out now, called the Chemistry Beat Tape. The vibe is dope. The whole vibe, top to bottom, is dope. So I hope everybody out there goes out and support that. Get it on Spotify, Tidal, Apple, iTunes, wherever. Bandcamp, I'm sure. And as I said, this interview will be up on YouTube this week. So replay it, rewind it, and get down with it however you want to get down with it. The chemist,
Love.
we signing off. Salute to you, sir.
Love, all
All
love.
right, honors, peace.
One.